and call this meeting to order of the Monroe County Council Personnel Administration Committee. And I'm going to ask for unanimous consent from the members, as we call it to order, to revise our agenda to allow for an organizational election for officers to an officer to conduct this meeting. If there's no objection, I will add that as our new item number 2. Seeing no objection, we will go ahead with item number 2, the new item number 2, an organizational election, and we'll call for the nomination of a PAC chair or president to conduct the meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate yourself, Trent Deckard, to be PAC president for 2021.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. I accept the nomination and appreciate the distinction. Any other nominations? Seeing none, I will go ahead and ask for a roll call on this.
Councilor Deckard?
Yes.
Councilor Spoonmore?
Yes.
Councilor Hawk?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if it's worthy of congratulations, but you've got my congratulations.
You have my deepest sympathy.
With friends like these. All right, we're now going to move on to our next item on the agenda, the new number 3, the Board of Commissioners. We have the review of the WIS recommendation, and I will open this up to staff. This is one that we've had considerable discussion on. We've waited for council action and it's now back to us. Kim, Shell, did you want to add anything to this discussion?
No, the reclassification came back as what we expected, which was a recommendation as a PAT 5. But to note that because the reclassification of the entire job descriptions have not been completed, that is the lowest that this position will be classified with regards to the entire reclassification.
Okay. Any other staff want to add to this discussion that are here? I'm going to open it up then to council or PAC member questions or comments. Any at all? Oh yes, Councilor Hawk.
Yes, this is a question for Michelle. I believe, isn't this the same classification as the GIS coordinator, the GIS position? Who can look at that?
I will have to look that up if you'll just give me a moment.
PAT 5.
I don't know why I thought that. Thought I saw it someplace. I suppose that WIS would have looked at that, but sometimes it's helpful just to see what it's comparing to in our.
Yes, the GIS coordinator is a PAT 5. And that's currently.
Right.
Looks like we've got Kelly Whitmer with us. Kelly, do you have a comment?
Is this the fleet director?
Building fleet manager.
And when you mean fleet, you mean vehicles?
Correct.
Yeah.
For
County vehicles, yeah.
county. Mm-hmm.
Other questions or comments from members of PAC?
Do we have a representative from the commissioner's office?
No, I was trying to get a hold of Angie, so.
Okay. I just want to make sure that they've had a chance to review it and are agreeable to the assessment. Looks like Counselor Hawk has a.
Yes.
Go ahead, Counselor Hawk. Go right ahead.
Michelle, earlier you commented, and I wanted to see if I understood what you're saying, something about with the description that they have now, it wasn't complete or something. I didn't quite understand what you were saying. Anybody else available to tell? Oh, there she is. Did you hear my question, Kim?
I just got off the phone with Angie. She's going to hop on. She'll be on in just a moment. She was on another meeting and totally spaced. So no, I did not hear your question.
Okay. The question was, earlier you said this is what, if I understood you correctly, something that this is what Liz had to work with now, but it could be changed later. Could you expand upon that, please?
This is at this point in time with their evaluations of what they have to compare to. A PAT 5 is what they're recommending. Now, they have not been able to complete the process yet. So, they want to make sure that, and all I can do is give you an example is like financial directors. We have some that are kind of all over the board, financial managers, financial directors, financial officers. They want to ensure that everyone is being looked at the same. So when they complete this process, that classification for the fleet building manager could go up, but it will not go any lower than a PAT 5.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Purdy, it's good to see you here. We have been looking at this, the report back from WIS regarding the fleet and building manager position. Have you had a chance to review it, and do you have any comments if so?
Yes, I have. And then first of all, I apologize for my lateness. I was actually in another meeting, child protection meeting, and I knew there was something else I was also supposed to be doing at the same time. And thankfully, Kim sent me a call. So let me, I kind of looked at the position as presented by WIS, and I anticipated this coming in at a PAT 5. It only makes sense. It requires a lot of independence. It's a supervisory position. It is also the same level as what the deputy court administrator is at. So I was not at all surprised by this amount. Now, what I have observed is in our 2021 budget, we already have budgeted in our county general fleet building line $15,150 and a portion of the full-time health, because you did approve the position of a mechanic. Obviously, this position is higher than what the perceived position was going to be for a mechanic, so we would actually need to get an additional. In addition to that, I want to kind of throw out that in my mind, this position has two jobs. It has the fleet and it has the building side. The building side is for all of the county buildings, and sorry, so sorry.
Sometimes dogs have strong thoughts about it being both fleet and building side.
Yeah, I would say it.
Now it's just gonna make me sad. My puppy dog can't yell at us anymore.
Okay, we'll come up here. Hopefully be a little quieter. Anyway. and you just won't stop. I was on with Elizabeth earlier, and same situation happened, and it's the little tiny one that's just the worst, loudest thing there is. So okay, so sorry. So as I was kind of going back and thinking about how to separate the costs, because I actually think that part of this position could be paid for out of the public safety lit. Not necessarily half of it, but I think if we look at this job as two different jobs, fleet and building, and then if we look at the fleet side of it, the Sheriff's Department comprises a large number of the vehicles that have to be purchased and maintained and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that we could justify 1/4 of that salary to come out of the public safety lit, would be my proposal on that. And actually right now we have money budgeted, but if you look at the quarter of the salary, we would actually need less than what's budgeted in public safety lit. Marty, is that for me?
Yes. Just as a reminder, those are things that you'll be talking with the entire council about, because this portion of what we're doing is only about the job description and
Right.
getting that back. And then when it comes forward to the full council, then you'll want to give us that information in advance so that we can think on it.
I can do
Uh,
that.
Thank you.
I just
right.
didn't want you to take up too much more of your puppy dog's time here.
And,
Get her
Yes.
some-
and
Cal-
Ms.
Go ahead.
Purdy, yeah, we can, Kate and I can check in with you on that as kind of the liaisons to the commissioner's office. We can talk about the different options for funding and so forth. So, and then we'll get that in front of the council for that decision.
Yeah, now, while I do have you, I am hoping, although it would be a lateral move for this employee, and as such, they're not entirely sure they would want to have it. But we actually have an employee within the county that would actually be quite perfect for this position, and they've actually expressed, when they found out I was actually looking into it, they reached out, they did some of their own homework. They've reached out to our software provider for our maintenance management program. I'm hoping I could convince them to convert and come over to our side of things. But again, they were a little reticent because it is just a lateral move for that particular position. But if that is the case, I also want you guys to know, and I know this is a full council conversation, but that person would be coming in with 14 years of county experience. So I just want to throw that out there.
Do we have any remaining questions from PAC members or comments on this particular classification?
Just to clarify, it looks like, sounds like Ms. Purdy was very comfortable with the WIS review as it came back. Okay.
Yeah.
So I will, if there's no other questions, Mr. President, I will move that PAC accepts the new position request and classification as presented by WIS, and that we forward this on to, what is that the next step? We would forward this on to council? Yep.
Yes.
Got a motion to accept this report back from WIS and to forward this on to council. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
That motion doesn't say that we are supporting the position overall, because that is certainly up to the entire council, but it is that we are accepting the
Yeah,
classification from WIS.
correct.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this? I have one if no one else does. I just want to say I appreciate the due diligence in both Angie, the commissioner's office, and particularly the full council to already kind of weigh this out, the patience of the process. I think it reflected both the role of PAC and the role of council and doing our job right in county government, which sometimes takes a little bit minute longer, which is easier said than done and easier for me to talk about than others to live through. I recognize, and I appreciate that kindness. If there's no other comments, I'll go ahead and call for a roll call vote.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
I would like to make a request, if that's okay, for this to be on the February 9th agenda. Is that
That works.
acceptable? Thank you.
Does that give you enough time to advertise?
We can do the additional for March, but they can go ahead and approve the position at this time,
Okay,
if council so chooses. So,
That's fine with me.
and that would give you a heads up on how to move forward with regards to the financial portions of this position. So,
All right, we will now move to our next item, the new item 4, discussion and approval of the 2021 PAC meeting schedule. And I'm assuming, Michelle, we would stick to the Tuesday noon, same time of the month, etc.
this is totally up to you guys. We have it in the schedule for Tuesdays, but you have not set a time per se. We did set Tuesdays as the designated meeting day, but we have not officially nailed down a time. So that is what this discussion needs. If you want to go monthly and make, that choice, or if you want to move forward and set a time that works for you.
Counselor Hawk, do you have a comment? Go right ahead. Counselor Hawk, you.
See, I think that this noon has been working. At least it works pretty well for me, but I know it takes up time right in the middle of your day. But if we can get it done, move on, have this job taken care of, and we're not taking up so much of employees' time, and I'm not just talking about county council employees' time, but county government time, by trying to have it after your work hours of perhaps after 5. So I don't know how's it working out for you, the other two here on PAC.
Counselor Spoonmore, go ahead.
I really appreciate this arrangement, noon on Tuesdays. It works very well for me, much easier to plan around this for me personally. So if we can continue doing this, I would be fully in favor of that.
I would just add to that, Tuesdays and Thursdays are always good for me because it's away from all my students on Mondays and Wednesdays, and they take some time on those days. And the other thing I would just say is I am always conscious in my other council meetings and roles when we are meeting in the evening time that it is taking department heads into evening times, and they can certainly comment on that better than me, and I'm going to open it to them in just a moment if they have comments on this meeting time. But my thought being sometime within the day may be more convenient for them, but I would love to hear their comments versus an evening time, given the nature of what this committee does with the public. Any department heads or staff want to comment on this? It sounds like they like it. All right, do we need to vote on that, or do we just stick to that? Okay. So
I would like to go ahead and officially vote it so that we can get it out to the media.
okay. So this would look like we will meet. You want to try it, Councilor Spoonmore?
Sure. First Tuesday, right, Kim?
Correct.
Okay. So PAC members, I move to set our PAC meeting schedule for future meetings in 2021 to be the first Tuesday of each month at noon via Zoom.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Okay, we now move to the approval of summary minutes as presented to us from the previous meeting on January 5th, 2021, our special holdover meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review? And if so, I'll accept a motion or comments.
I move approval of the January 5th, 2020 meetings as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comments? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
We'll now move to PAC member comments, and I know there's an item at least that we need to talk about that Michelle brought up yesterday, and I'll turn to her in just a moment. But we are in, as you all know, we're in a difficult time, a limitless time, or whatever you want to call it, where we're doing the WIS study, but we're still county operating in a pandemic and hiring and et cetera. And I know the department heads have needs and requests with that WIS study, presenting complications with that. And so, Michelle, I'm going to turn it over to you if you want to make some comments on maybe some needs or communication needs that we have as we continue on in this kind of awkward period.
I've been working with Allison and Tyler, and they are our WIS representatives, along with Elizabeth, and we are at the final stages of gathering up the redlined versions of job descriptions to forward on to the WIS consultants. They are also in the process of, once they've evaluated, created these job descriptions and have evaluated, they are sending drafts out to the departments to review with the incumbents in those positions and getting those signed and back. So, you know, we are in this process where they're diligently working and this kind of thing. And the hope is to have this all done and completed by June. And we have had a couple departments that have either wanted to hire, well, not hire, but have a reclassification of job descriptions. And I just feel like that we are in this process. WIS is reviewing these positions currently, that it's kind of premature for a department to be requesting a review or a reclassification until we have completed this process. So I just wanted to let you know where we're at in this right now. I mean, they're doing everything that they can to get this done as soon as possible. But if we keep interrupting them, you know, pulling things out, I mean, just for an example, but this was a new position, you know, we added this fleet and building. They couldn't finalize the classification on this. You know, they said in the recommendation that it was a Pat 5 at this time. Well, they can't make a final determination until they get everyone's done. And so I think if department asking for a review at this time won't get the answer that they want or that they're seeking, just because we're in the middle of this review. So that would cause, to me, extra expense, you know, pulling this out from what they're doing. And I just would like to have maybe something go to the departments and remind them, hey, we're in this, you know, please be patient and that kind of thing. But I just need some direction from PAC on what to do.
And it doesn't, go ahead, Councilor Hawk.
Well, just to add on to that, a concern that what we know we'll only have one pot of money that, that we're going to. So if we start moving people ahead of everyone else and they get something that's classified perhaps a bit higher, then they're already set, and we normally do not reduce their salary. And so even if we put it in higher than what the survey would show, or the final document would show, we might just leave them there at the higher amount. I just think when you're representing everybody, it's really difficult to make adjustments midstream.
I totally agree with that.
Let me ask a question and help me to understand this if I have this correctly. If, let's say tomorrow, a hypothetical county employee was hired at one particular classification, as we currently have that classification, if during this study, the WIS takes a look at this, compares this with other county positions, classifications, and changes the range of the classification or changes the classification, if that is changed, that would affect that employee at that time beyond where they're currently hired, classified, et cetera now. Am I saying this roughly right?
That is correct. We did have a discussion with the entire council which I believe the consensus was that if a person is currently employed with a particular classification, and through this process, that classification then is reduced, that employee will not be penalized for that reclassification. They will remain at their current status. And then once that becomes vacant, the new employee then will fill that position with the current recommended classification. But
with the new, you don't mean current as it stands now, but as when it's changed.
When it's recommended, yes, yes. And then, but if overall an employee is going to be bumped up because of this review, then that is what we will do at that time. If that's the way the council chooses to go with the recommendations from WIS.
I agree. And I think the quickest way from point A to point B is just to let WIS do their job with the fewest amount of interruptions as possible throughout this process.
Councilor Hawk?
Yes, we just need to keep reminding ourselves and others, or Margie Rice, Ms. Rice will jump in here, to make sure that we understand that even though WIS would come back with changes in classification, that does not necessarily mean a change in salary that is going to be greater, because we still have to work with salary changes depending on money that we have to work with and how we want to budget that. So.
Okay. So essentially
Ms.
there's
Rice?
Yeah, I didn't know if that was an invitation to jump
Sure.
in, but certainly I would think that would be a conversation that you would like to have pre-budget, if you could. Again, and Councilmember Hawk will remember this, the idea is that you try to get your reclassifications, you try to get your changes done before budget of each year, so that you can then set budgets accordingly, and then there is a method to the madness. And so I would hope that you guys would start even thinking about it, even if you don't have the results back yet, sort of planning ahead, knowing that you are going to get results and there's going to be demand from department heads. They're going to request, not that you have to do it, but they're certainly going to request that you look at your salary grids. And Councilmember Hawk raises an excellent point to remind you that classifications are different than the salary grids. And so they're supposed to be independent. And what we have had are people going in and changing or asking for classification changes because they want a salary change. And we're trying to get to a system where everybody realizes those are separate. And we no longer have people going through the back door saying, hey, I've dreamt about being a Pat 5 my whole life. And just because they actually want a salary change. And I know that Kim is working really hard with Wes, and so is Elizabeth, to sort of try to get us into some rhythm I hope that we can start that this year.
And like I stated earlier, that their goal is to get this done by June, so that we will have all of the information needed for budgets. And I do believe that also includes the salary grid review as well.
And they've not said anything to indicate that that goal has changed, right? They're sticking with that. Their hope
Nope.
is June.
That I just emailed and talked with them recently about that. So
Okay. So is it the wish of PAC that I work with Michelle on maybe a communication that could go out to department heads?
To do what?
Work on a communication out to department heads about this while they're in this time.
Yeah, I think so. I would be in favor of that.
And since we're here, Elizabeth, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to also just make it clear for department heads that the changes would happen in 2022 would be the goal. We would get the review back in January. You would review it at your budget sessions in 2021, and then changes would happen in 2022. They wouldn't happen immediately when we get the information back from WIS.
that, yeah, yes.
I do know that we have some department heads here. We've not advertised this as a discussion point, but I would invite some comments if you have them now. If anyone wants to say anything.
I'll make a brief comment. This is Tron Enright Randolph. I did not mean to necessarily submit anything premature. This discussion has been pretty informative. It addresses my particular situation head on. I just would like to echo the difficulty of this, and some people that are trying to bring in the right caliber of employee now, and the fact that June is quite a ways down in identifying the particular need that is relevant and present today, and trying to retain somebody that can fit that today, it does take some kind of process to address this, because my fear, and this can be more broadly taken, that if I have to bring someone in that isn't going to be able to have the experience that is needed to meet the job, due to the fact that I'm not able to entice them because of the grid and the set pay, is tricky. And to postpone that till June makes it real difficult, because one of the, I presented two cases. I don't know who got the preliminary agenda, but one of them is a position that effectively helps support a broad amount of the county. So that was my initial goal, is to try to expedite that process so I can actually retain somebody that can be more fitting for that role moving forward, versus just hoping that I might get the right applicant today. And I appreciate everything here. I'm very willing to kind of wait until June. It's just, I would like to present that question to you as you're really trying to think this out, because there are things that have way more apparent need and demand, and to put that in place immediately versus kind of waiting down the line to see how these classifications may come back, it is a challenge for us all. So I thank you for your time, effort, and thoughtfulness through this discussion. And I saw Kelly had her raised hand, but I hit the unmute button a bit quicker. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Surveyor. Ms. Whitmer.
If the council believes that employees should be grandfathered in at their current salary, even if they get classified lower, that would be a big employee morale boost, so they would know that, because some people might be fretting that if they get classified lower, that their pay is going lower. So if the council believes that, they should maybe make a statement.
I think we did.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
months ago
Yeah.
when we started this process.
okay.
Go.
Yes, And I distributed an email with that information as well.
Oh, I apologize. Sometimes I don't
No
read
worries.
every sentence.
No worries, we
could-
can do it again.
Yeah. we
Well,
can
no,
put
no,
that
I
in
can
there.
just assure employees that the council feels that way, that they would be grandfathered in.
Yeah, I would never be in favor of any kind of plan that would take away from county employees what they already have. That would be just a non-starter for me. So, but yeah, we may need to refresh that email and get it back to Kelly so she can share with her employees too.
Okay, I can do that.
We can maybe capture some of that in the communication we do that Michelle, we can work on that. Thank you,
Okay.
Kelly. Is there any other department heads before I turn to Ms. Hawk? Counselor Hawk?
Just wanted to make it clear that it is tied to the position, not to the person. So if someone in a position in one department or even in the same department would opt to take another position, higher or lower, that classification grid is tied to that job description and that position. So if they would move from, say, one job where they were making a great deal more money and they chose and took a job that was classified something a lot less, they don't keep that higher salary. They have chose to go to a different position. It's not tied to the person.
Right.
Thank you. And I'll just offer one last comment, maybe as we wrap towards wrapping this up. I say this a lot in council meetings, and I'll say it again here if it helps. And probably some counselors get tired of hearing this, as the son of a county employee, a court reporter, I am exceedingly cognizant every day of her experience, my mother's experience as a county employee, and what the things we do and say in these meetings means to that. And so anything we can do to avoid any miscommunication and at least on my end, let me send this message. Our goal or my goal or what we're doing, my observation is always that we're making county employment fair, better,
Transparent.
so transparent, so that we can serve the people that elected me and essentially are hiring all of us. And I think that being cognizant of sometimes the sacrifice that our county workforce makes every day, our goal is to make that a little bit easier. I'm sure there are times where you're questioning what we're doing because it doesn't seem like that, but certainly that's the goal. And I love the fact that Councilor Spoonmore in particular, as our council president, really insisted on a hold harmless provision on those classifications, that we're not going to harm people in getting this right. And it's not a gotcha, it's a uniform. So anyway, in that regard, I just wanted to make that comment. Seeing no other comments truly on this, and I think everyone's time with that and the comments particularly, are there any other comments not generally related to that from the PAC members? If not, I believe then our next meeting will be, if I'm doing my own math right, which is not always good, will be on Tuesday, March 2nd at noon. And I'm getting a nod. So that'll be our next meeting of this PAC committee. If there's no further business, we will stand adjourned. Thank you so much.
42 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.